Guys, Joe here. So yeah, like the title says, it's the first training that we did today. I was hoping there was going to be more people, but actually it was pretty. Actually, the amount of people that came, it made it manageable. I think. So we had five or six. I think there was like five or six companies that came out. I think there were six, and then one guy ended up leaving halfway through. Um, which I was kind of glad about because he was a pain in the ass. Like I don't know if like my supplier sent him, but it was like almost like he was just questioning everything that I did. I would start talking, and he's interrupting me, and all this other kind of stuff, and he's going on, and I'm like, uh, I'd answer the question, and then he would, stop for a minute and then go on to something else. I'm like, dude, just shut the hell up and just let me talk. Um, so anyway, Um, so anyway, overall went really, really well. With the first one, there was a few hiccups. I've realized last night that I probably should have just got a videographer for the whole thing. But then also the same thing last night. If you haven't heard other videos before, like I do smoke weed, but it's only at night. So my wife calls it like solving world hunger. But basically, like after I'm smoking, then well, I don't smoke. I used to vaporizer. But after that, I have like all these great ideas, and then I usually text them to myself, and then the next day I'll like look at them to see what I was writing about and be like, does that make sense or does that not make sense? Um, this dude's just like randomly stopping aside and then open the door. So anyway, um, what we're probably going to end up doing is just having it where we do training multiple times per, like on a weekly basis. The one part that did suck is that we had to, because we had it on a Saturday. So my employees came in, but like no one. I don't really feel like working on Saturdays if we're not open. They don't really want to work on Saturdays either. So we're probably going to run it on a weekly basis at this point. So I think it'll end up working out. Because at this point, like most of the owners, it was all owners, and I think one employee came with one of the owners, and then. Um, but now they're going to want their employees kind of trained as well. So then we'll just kind of split it up. Instead of me doing a presentation in the beginning, it's really just on how to install. So we'll do set times like every week. We'll do it, Fridays or Tuesdays, Wednesdays, like whatever it happens to be. And then whoever shows up, if they show up, great. Then, my two guys will stop and train them. And then if they're not there, if no one shows up, then they just do their normal thing. So I think that'll work out pretty well. And then after thinking about that, I'm like, I don't have to worry about this whole, presentation and everything else, just because we're going to be able to do this on a weekly basis. So, other than that, like I really enjoyed it. I think the people that came in, they were super nice. Hopefully, I hear from them. But at the end of the day, it's just building up value. And then I think what I enjoyed and what I'm realizing is that defense was not really like defense was just about money, right? Like when I was, as defense company, like I'm just selling the stuff for money, which in the beginning when you need the money, that's fine. But once that need is met, like they talk about these, who the hell is the guy's name? Aslo. I feel like it's Aslow's hierarchy of needs, right? And so basically, you have the needs all the way at the bottom, and then as those are met, there's a new set of things that need to be met, and then that kind of thing. They basically live a like a happy and fulfilled life. And like for me, the fencing was just fencing. At some point, I brought in the employee, so I wasn't having direct interaction. Oh, I had this thing. I'm like, why is it so hot in here? And it's because I have it set for 69 degrees, and it got hot today. But anyway, like I thought about it was just for money, and like I wasn't really involved with the customer, so it just became like a very money centric, and like it just wasn't exciting to me. Like I was just bored. Like now it was like, oh, like we figured out the advertising, like how do we make more money and that kind of thing. And we kind of like kept on stagnating, so that's never really fun. And it's like the whole adage, like if you're not growing, you're dying, kind of thing, right? So what I really did enjoy is like you grow, you're kind of hanging out with other business owners, and like you're just talking about the issues you're having. Like the one guy I talked about, like I'm it's just him and his daughter installing, and they're 50, 60 hours a week, and like it's tough, and he's got four other kids at home, well, three other kids at home, one's out of at college or just out of the house at this point. And we're talking about like, the story like when I was, back when I first started, working 80 and 90 hours, talking about like the worst thing is like, for me, the worst thing I think was being home, but not being able to be present because I was just exhausted and stressed out about money and everything else. So it's nice to talk to other people about that because, and I said to them, like, unfortunately, we're kind of like, as business owners, we're kind of by ourselves. And because we have, um, like most of our friends are working these 9 to 5 jobs. Like they just can't relate. You could talk about, oh, I had to do this, and this, and everything else, but they just don't get it because they just have to show up at 9, they leave at 5, and like when typically, not for all instances, but for a lot of them, they only worry about work between 9 and 5. Like we can't do that, right? And so I think that's what's going to be more exciting for me. Obviously, we're going to be selling fence to these contractors, but it's more about building the relationship with them to, help them out. I don't know everything at this point, but I do. I know there's some kind of knowledge and value that I can kind of help them with. So makes me feel good. Build up these relationships, probably build a few friendships out of this whole thing as well. It's just unexpected. One of the biggest things that was unexpected when I went to, like when I was going out for quotes all the time, because I'm not like a people person. I don't really like talking to people, but here I am talking to my friggin' phone all the time, like that talks to other people. And but talking to the customers, right, and hearing about their life stories and stuff like that, which was really interesting. I loved meeting with homeowners that were also business owners and stuff like that, especially the ones. Um, there was quite a few, not quite a few. There was a handful that were up there in age. They were like, in their 60s, 70s, and sometimes in the 80s, and like they were successful business owners and they had multiple businesses and stuff like that. So it gave me a chance to kind of talk to them and see what they, what kind of worked, what didn't work, if they had to do it over again, like what they would do. And it was nice talking about that kind of stuff. And it's kind of like the same thing with this, current business owners. And like now, because I'm talking to landscapers, it's like what, things that we just would not do as a fence company. And it's like, this is perfect for them because they're set up for it. They've done it, they do it. The crews know what they're doing. Like they have the tools and the equipment and the vehicles and trailers to like do a lot of stuff that a fence company just can't, right? And so it's like, oh, like, what if you started like it's because again, as a landscaper, the more and more I look at it, like I wish I started a landscaping company first, right? If I was to do this all over again, I would start a landscaping company. Why? Because it's much easier to get in there for a lawn service or a leaf cleanup or whatever else it is, right? And then once you get them in, like you get the customer in the door for that, it's no longer really selling. It's like, yo, what else do you do? Right. And then we're just talking about like before, it's like they're doing the hardscaping and they're doing around the pools and they're doing the gazebo, like they're doing all this shit. And then the customer's like, do you do fence? And they're like, no. And now they have to get quotes from other companies and they really don't want to do that. They really want to be dealing with the landscape, right? And that's where the more and more I think about my Jose, which used to be my, just my subcontractor, like the name of his business is perfect, right? It's One Solution. It's perfect. At first, like when I first heard, I'm like, what is like One Solution? Like that, like what is that? But then I'm like, One Solution, all your needs. Like it's perfect. So anyway, I hope you guys are having a wonderful Saturday or whenever you happen to be watching this. And that's just about how my day went. Think of anything else. Like I said, we're gonna probably do this on a weekly basis, and it's more for like homeowners and stuff too. That teach that either more landscapers that couldn't make it teach their employees. So basically, the owner can do what they need to do, but then just send their employees over for like an hour or 2 hours at the most, and learn how to do fencing. Um, and the what was nice too is like my two guys, Leon and Miguel, like they really enjoyed it, right? And it's kind of like the perfect team because you have, Leon, that's more of the customer service side. He would deal with more of the customers, but he was the helper. And then you got Miguel, that is the foreman. And like he speaks some English, or a decent amount of English, I should say. But he's great with the landscapers and stuff, um, because he speaks Spanish, right? So it kind of worked out really, really well. Like super happy how it turned out. Again, I wish it was a little bit bigger, but honestly, I think getting bigger it would have been too hard to manage. But it was nice because like they kind of like broke up in groups. It was kind of like some people were like for the installation side of things were, kind of like talking to Leon. There's some people that were, the Spanish guys were talking to Miguel. I was talking to one guy in particular, and then the two guys after that. And then Jose was talking to the other dude, and it just really, I enjoyed it. Like I enjoyed it. I hope they got a decent amount out of it. I hope they enjoyed it. But it seemed like they said they did. I feel like they did. I think it's at least going to give them the confidence they need to um, start offering. So anyway, that's all I got for today. Side note: Dunkin' Donuts is not cheap anymore. Like I got 2 boxes of Joe's and like a box of coffee and a decaf coffee, a medium decaf coffee. It was like $40. Crazy. So anyway, have an awesome day. Oh, last thing. The donuts at Dunkin' Donuts obviously are not that great. Support your local bakery. Like they're like as cheap as Dunkin' Donuts, but they're a hell of a lot better. So anyway, that's my I've been basically buying because I've been stopping at Dunkin' Donuts, and if I have a few people in the warehouse, then I end up just buying it for them as well. But then like I'm not supporting the mom and pop, the local companies, which though then again I'm supporting the franchises, which they are owners within the community. So, but the crap's better, way better. So anyway, have an